Roger, Mission Control. This is
Five,
Mission Control to launch vehicle.
3,
This is launch vehicle. We'd like to respond to a 27 checklist requested by Mission.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Okay, we've had a problem here. This is Houston, say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem. We've had a main beam unflammable. Roger, main beam under voltage.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee Friends Today. I'm your host, Marsha Faith Harper, and I would like to introduce you to my friend Mickey Cole Jr. Say hi, Mickey.
Hey, guys.
So Mickey is a friend of mine that I met in college. We were in the same theater department. He's a fantastic actor on screen, on stage. He graduated my freshman year, and I was one of those freshman that was just like, Mickey is the best actor ever. And then I got the privilege of working with him earlier this year, right before lockdown. We did a dinner theater together with a 2-person show, and we actually had to close right before closing weekend because COVID happened. And I think that's the last time we saw each other.
Yeah, actually, wow, it was so long ago.
It was 6 months ago.
Dang.
How the heck are you?
It's been great, COVID's been great, quarantine's been great, family, friends, the work that I do, it's been great. How about you? How are things with you?
I had to leave Columbus, moved home with my parents for 3 months, and then moved across the country to California.
All in the middle of a quarantine.
In the middle of quarantine, where I now work a part-time fast food job, and I missed all my friends, so I started a podcast.
What better things could you ask for?
It's been an adventure. So the last episode, we talked a little bit about audio engineering with my friend Matt. And I'm assuming, since I have a lot of entertainment industry friends, that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about acting, talking about the entertainment industry and the arts in general. But today's a little different because we're talking about something that both of us love to nerd out over, and that is space science, astronomy, just are we alone in the universe, and all the cool stuff that's going to be happening in the next few years and has been happening in the last few months.
Oh, yeah.
With space science. How did you first how did you first get curious about space science? Like, what's that journey been like for you?
It really all started in high school when I started taking like physics and math classes. And my teachers were nice enough and creative enough to actually start like giving us projects and homework assignments that involved like things to get our attention and our creativity going. So they would give us assignments involving space or involving astronomy and stars, and those are just massive numbers to play with. So in physics and math class, I was able to like already start computing like measurement of stars, how far away they are, how long it takes for light to travel, and the way light is affected in outer space and how it's different in a vacuum and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But like that was like high school, Mickey. But like my interests like started even farther back than that. When as a kid, every summer we would go up to the North Georgia mountains and visit my family and stay on this lake in the middle of the mountains that was so far and so remote. We could like just lay on the dock, look up, and like just see the Milky Way as this purple streak across the sky. And that was the first time I ever heard like the term the Milky Way. Was like when I was 5 or 6, sitting outside like at 1 a.m. with my mom and dad and my siblings and my family, and just like staring up at the stars and wondering like what all is up there and how even at nighttime when it's so dark, it can be so bright still in the right spots. And it just was like beautiful to like look at. So like that image of all those stars and the Milky Way, and sometimes even being able to like discern like satellites or the ISS floating across the International
Yeah.
Space Station. And then also talking with my dad and trying to figure out which were planets and which were stars. And it wasn't until a lot later that I figured out how to do that properly. Um, just as a kid, in the meantime, it was fun to look up and connect the dots on your own, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine was actually surprisingly similar. And I'm sure I've told you this whole story before, maybe not, but
Probably. Let's tell it again.
yeah, I was super little and my dad was working like 3 or 4 part-time jobs. And so one of those jobs was a paper route. And so he was up in the middle of the night. Um, and I remember he woke us up super early. I don't even know what time in the morning, and brought us all outside. And we all laid on the hood of our old yellow Cadillac. We called it Banana Pudding.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a meteor shower. And I'm like 4 or 5 years old at this point, and I'm just going, like, what is happening? And
Magic in the sky.
magic in the sky, shooting stars, and I'm just like making wish after wish. And then my dad's like, this is super rare. This doesn't happen super often. And we got out his little telescope. And then like for like 2 weeks after that, it's like every night me and my dad were out in the backyard with this telescope.
Oh, beautiful.
And then for the rest of my childhood, like Thursday night was Nova night on PBS. And it was like me and my dad with our popcorn, and we were so excited. Like I was more into Nova than I was into Disney movies.
Hey, that's nothing to be ashamed about. I remember watching Nova with my dad and my mom, because finally we had something like you did to connect with and like do together.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best things to do as a kid, was watching something that you knew probably no one else was really watching at your age, and you were like, I can do this with my mom and dad, and also I'm the only one that does it.
Like it's like being on the secret, and you get all this like insider information that you can impress your friends with. Yeah.
It definitely pays off too when you're like, when I take like my girlfriend out, we go stargazing regularly, actually, on dates. We love to hit up either Pine Mountain in Georgia, or even in the North Georgia mountains. We love to find spots where we can like just be secluded and stargaze. And it's so great to be able to sit there and actively like tell her, like, now this is Mars right here, but if you look over here, this is Taurus, and Orion is right here. And then sometimes, depending on the year, we also have the winter circle in the sky.
Yes.
And she loves this stuff too. But her mindset is more like, this is just beautiful. Whereas I'm like, no, I can get technical with this. I know exactly what star this is, what its name is, how far away it is. Also, this one has more helium, and this one has more hydrogen. And it's just it's the beautiful thing that we can like actively talk about and still like grow and learn together doing. So it's a great activity to do with friends, significant others. Oh yeah, like you can take a bunch of people and get like a couple of telescopes and have a picnic at night and stargaze, and still get like the same great like hangout experience you would no matter what time of the year, no matter who you're with. Everyone can just be fascinated by the stars in the sky, and we just happen to take it to the next level.
Yes, we love that. And that actually might be a really fun like social distancing activity.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that's a cool idea. I will have to see if any of my friends have a telescope, because we have like a totally different sky over here at some point in here. So like that's been weird. Actually, that's been one of the things that's been hardest about moving so far away from home, is looking up and not seeing the same stars that I'm used to.
No, you'll have a different view, a different angle of some things.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, that's like one of the most like astonishing things about like the way the sky is oriented. Is like the farther north you go, like you're gonna see stars. I mean, just for simplicity, the North Star is gonna be higher in the sky for you. And then if you go below the equator, you can't even see the North Star. You're gonna be looking at a whole new brand of constellations that orbit the sky.
Yeah.
And it's like truly a unique experience depending on where you are. So like, I mean, I know some people, they just travel all over the world to get that kind of experience.
Yeah.
My brother actively tries to travel and use his telescope to like stargaze, and he'll send me pictures sometimes of stuff he gets because he has that kind of telescope.
Oh, cool.
Just a beautiful way. Like I wish my phone could do that kind of thing, but he just like hooks up with his telescope and he can still take pictures of the night sky. And it's just simplicity, a beautiful thing that you can do no matter where you are, and everyone loves it.
Absolutely. What's your favorite constellation?
I So my favorite constellation is a duo. It's a pair, and it's one that everyone knows, Orion, but its counterpart is Scorpio.
Oh,
And I
really?
love, yes. And the reason is like the story goes, like Orion and Scorpio were having a huge fight. And so to stop the fighting from destroying the world, the gods put them into the night sky on opposite ends of the sky. So when you see Orion, you will never see Scorpio in the sky. And then when you see Scorpio, you'll never see Orion in the night sky. And it's so cool because you can see Orion and it looks so big, but then you see Scorpio and it's even bigger, and you're like, oh my gosh, like just thinking like just in like a fantasy setting, like, oh my gosh, this brave warrior is fighting this giant monster Titan Scorpio. And the story goes, they're in the night sky now, and so you can see Orion chasing after Scorpio, and then Scorpio coming in and chasing after Orion afterwards, but they'll never be in the sky at the same time. And that's another thing that makes stargazing so beautiful, is whether or not you know the constellations or whether you know the stories that go with them, you can even create your own. And this experience is now unique to everyone, or you can share the same story, and then you and that friend group have that experience. Everyone's going to see roughly the same stars and draw their own thing from it. And it's like art, like you have your own personal connection with it.
Doesn't like every individual culture have their own like set of constellations?
Well, yeah, the zodiac is in the sky. Then you have like Greek mythology; they're all in the sky. I know the Egyptians also put stuff in the sky. Like Orion's belt is technically three kings, and they built the pyramids to line up the points. So when Orion's belt is rising into the sky, the three stars line up perfectly with the tips of the pyramids, and then rise up into the heavens.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, look up pictures. Like you'll see it. Like if you get the right angle and the right distance that you need to be. I forget where that is in Egypt, but there's tons of pictures that Orion's belt, the three kings, they like line up perfectly with the pyramids.
We as humans, I find this so cool that we as humans have always been so fascinated with what is beyond us and what we can't really get to, but we've just always stared up at the stars. We've always wondered what was out there. And I don't know about you, but like this whole realm of science has been one of the things that's kind of been keeping me sane in quarantine, because it starts to feel so claustrophobic when you're by yourself in your house all the time. Even when you do go out, you're behind a mask, you're 6 feet away from people. And just that reminder that there is something that is so much bigger out there that is still yet to be. And like the stars that you're looking at, like those, that light has taken thousands or millions or billions or trillions of years to get to you, and it's here at this moment. I just love that so much. And there's also been so much during this year that has happened with space exploration and that kind of thing. Have you been keeping up with that at all?
A little bit, mostly just like for my fascination with Mars and what we're going to do with going there. So I know more about like the Perseverance rover that's going to go there in February. But other than that, I just kept up with the two astronauts that first did SpaceX, and they just came back. But not too much about it. I usually follow the Instagram accounts that are just like, look at these pretty constellations, and ooh, look at the Nebula Galaxy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is so beautiful. Intriguing, and this gas in space does this. Ooh. And like as for like actual expeditions, I'm a little on the novice or the naive side, shall we say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a novice myself on all accounts with this stuff, but yeah, and I actually don't know a whole lot about the Perseverance rover. I do know about,
oh really?
No, not a whole lot. I know about the upcoming Artemis missions. Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped about those. Yeah, I watched the whole SpaceX Dragon capsule launch with my parents. My dad was so excited the whole time because he hadn't watched like American astronauts launching from American soil like in however long it's been. And then I watched them landing back in the ocean, and that whole thing where they had private boats like way too close to the capsule, and I'm like, guys, this is not okay. It's just been so cool. But yeah,
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, so about Perseverance?
Yeah, tell me more about that.
Okay, so Perseverance is another rover we're sending to Mars. So, you know, Curiosity is on there, and we've sent a couple smaller stuff for testing, really. But Perseverance is another rover that's going to spend a really long time on Mars, and its basic like needs and functions are to now actively test and look for evidence that life is on Mars, versus Curiosity and others are trying to see if it could happen, or if it like the possibility was there like once upon a time. Perseverance is like, okay, let's actually look for stuff now. Like, here's the evidence that life is there. Like, and so the way
on a microscopic level, I would imagine.
Yes, and the way they're going to do this is Perseverance has the capabilities of collecting samples and doing small tests, but they're going to be able to jettison it back into the atmosphere and send it back. So we're actually going to get actual samples from Mars to test on Earth now for like these things.
That's so great.
So yeah, you've heard of moon rocks, you've heard of asteroids, and you've heard of meteors falling on Earth. Now we're actually going to have Mars rocks.
Mars coming back to us.
Oh yeah, it's
that's the ultimate Amazon package.
I know, right?
Like everyone's just sitting here like, I want a Mars rock.
I want it so bad. I don't care how much it costs. I just want it in my house just to look at it and go, the red planet on my desk. Perseverance is, though, it's already on its way. It launched in February, and then it's going to arrive in February of next year.
Wow.
And then because that's like the basic like thing that Perseverance is doing, they wanted to put as much as they could on it to also test on Mars. So there's another thing on Perseverance that is basically a drone or helicopter.
Yes, I've seen this stuff. Okay,
so they're basically, and all it is, it's very simple. They just want to test what flight capabilities would be like in like the thin air on Mars, and like, because like it has no atmosphere, like nothing is really contained there. They have to like test the capabilities of like aerodynamic machines and also the power of flight on Mars, so that after they test it, they can now send another rover or helicopter to Mars to now do like close-up aerial inspections. Because Curiosity and Perseverance can only like roll to like locations. They can't climb up mountains or deep into canyons. They can't go in those areas. So with a drone or a helicopter on Mars, we could not only cover more ground, we can get into areas that we couldn't get with the rovers. So we can take better close-up pictures. We can get better surveillance of like the rovers doing their activity instead of just like a zoomed in satellite picture. So like those, the benefits of that is just like for the picture benefit, and also like looking for new areas to land, looking for new areas to test stuff, and also the possibility of getting the rovers to those locations. But yeah, that helicopter or drone is on Perseverance. So Curiosity's whole thing was proving that water could exist on Mars, or probably did. Now Perseverance is there looking for intelligent life samples hidden in the rocks and the dirts on Mars itself. Whether it was sustained for long periods of time or even just faint traces of it, anything will do. But that's why I'm super excited about Perseverance, because it's going to be just another cool mission to feed your enthusiasm of, is there life out there, and is it closer than you think? Of course, everyone has a different like definition of intelligent life out there, like as small as like bacteria or single cell organisms to full on talking aliens that you see in TV shows and whatnot. But I'm just excited to put ourselves on Mars in a whole new setting, a more up-to-date setting because Curiosity was several years ago. All of it's just so freaking cool to me. I love anything involving Let's Go to Mars. Of course, like, it's going to take a lot more just to put feet on Mars, because right now we're focused with Artemis on getting people on the moon first. But yeah, that's perseverance for you.
Oh, and it's so exciting to think about just the small, like right now, I think it seems to just the general population that, it's tiny little baby steps that we're taking right now. But in actuality, like when you think about what a undertaking it is to get back to the moon at all, since it's been so long since we've been there, and then we're going to put a space station in orbit around the moon, and then we're going to put people, on the moon as a pit stop, and and there's going to be people there constantly, and then we're going to send people to the next planet, which has never been done before. And we don't know how the human body reacts to, deep space, that far away from the sun, that far away from Earth, like what happens when you stay in zero gravity for that long? We don't know. So
yeah, it's cool to see like what advances we make in scientific technology, one based off our own idea of what we wish to accomplish, but also basing the ideas off of science fiction, like the idea that there was life on Mars and we should go examine it. Both comes from both science fiction standpoints and like the scientific mind of just exploration. Like it's gotten to the point where there are so many ideas of what life in the universe could be like outside of Earth, that scientists and reporters and anyone who just journals this stuff is saying, like, I just wonder which science fiction author is going to be correct, like who got it right when guessing what life is like out there.
Will that be? And I mean, I doubt that we'll see the answer come to light in our lifetime, but just knowing that the possibility exists. That
I'm more optimistic than that. I am very excited to hopefully see that in my lifetime.
We're gonna have a welcoming committee of little green men in 2028 or 2038 or whenever they're.
That's right. I'm glad you brought up the space station. It's going to be orbiting the moon, because that's going to be a huge part in sending astronauts to Mars, because the journey to Mars is so incredibly long compared to the moon that station, if they can go and dock, get more accumulated to zero gravity and living in those kind of conditions, and then leave from that space station to Mars, cutting the journey down just the slightest bit, but being like a little like a stopping point on your route to Mars.
The next rest area is in however many million miles. Are we there?
Fuel up now, get gas now, for your next stop is not for another 2,500 miles. No, and it's even crazy, like you said, like the possibility of stuff happening in our lifetime, because I mean, they're just now announcing, or they have announced a while ago, the Artemis missions, but they don't even foresee us being on the moon until 2024. So like we still move at what feels like a sluggish pace to accomplish these great tasks that in the long run seem so trivial, but right now seems so massive. To just simply put a man and a woman back on the moon it's so like daunting, the timeline. I mean, they just tested the rockets in Utah, I think a day or two ago, actually, and posted that footage. And that was cool to see like the rocket strapped on the ground and then practicing its thrusters and seeing how massive and how much force it's going to put out, what they have to like test and tinker with. Just that visual was like so like exhilarating to go, we're getting there, we're taking one step at a time, it's going to take a while, but we're trugging along.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that, like, I think to us it seems like it's, oh, that's such a long timeline. But I don't know if you remember Cameron, who came to Academy last summer and was the guy that works at NASA, and he was, and he was talking about I talked to him a little bit about the Artemis missions that day, and he was like, honestly, like 2024 is like really like soon, when you talk about like all of the preparation and all of the tests that we have to run and all that, especially if we're going to be, if this is going to be a crewed mission. Like, I mean, this is like, these are people going into space. There is a lot of prep that has to happen before this happens, and a lot of funding that has to go through. So it's like, to us, it's like, well, what's taking so long? And they're like, the checklist is like 5,000 pages long. Give us a minute, guys.
Yeah, we're saying do it sooner, and they're like, give us more time.
Mm-hmm. Or give us more funding.
Just imagining the task of putting man and woman back on the moon in however many years. They need to make sure everything is the best it can be, because one slip up, one mess up, one miscalculation, one screw loose, and it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's very cinematic, but thinking back to Apollo 13, it's terrifying to put someone in that situation and then expect them to also know how to do everything, and then try to talk with them through a connection as unstable as Zoom sometimes.
Yeah.
To teach them and tell them how to fix problems that literally are going to be already life-threatening, whether or not they're happening.
Yeah.
It's a really scary thing.
And also with the whole funding thing, like, I think that's why we're seeing so much of the commercial side of this starting to pick up, with SpaceX and all of this. Like, it's so exciting to see that it's not just NASA putting in the effort now. Now we've got, more hands on deck, and it's, the funding is coming from different places, but that does take a little bit of the burden off of NASA. And so, like, we're seeing a little bit more momentum, which is fun. Hiring the best of the best, and okay, well, let's figure this out. Like, yeah. Oh, it's so freaking cool. And
it is. It's so great to like be a part of like a community like that. Like be one of those amateurs. Like, I'm the lowest of the lowest here when it comes to like amateur stargazers, but I still consider myself part of that community because I keep up with what people are posting. I follow a few amateurs myself to see like what they're finding. I mean, to this day, still amateurs are the ones discovering like little like stars and planets out there. It was an amateur, if I'm not mistaken, that discovered a black hole in a distant galaxy that we hadn't calculated or figured out yet, and was just like, hey, you should like look over there, I think I saw something. And the world was like, what? Oh, you're right, that, congratulations, thank you for finding that for us. That was so cool. It's so cool that like not a lot of people fully comprehend, and it's hard to comprehend this, but when you see images and videos of astronauts doing spacewalks, it looks so stationary and they're just like slowly moving around the spaceship, but in reality they're falling and moving at thousands of miles an hour, and they're zooming around the Earth. And if you actually watch like some videos they have, and you see the Earth, you can see the Earth turning faster than you realize, and it's because it's the combination of them orbiting and the Earth going the opposite direction. Like they are flying over the surface of the Earth, and it for a moment just looks so stationary and still and peaceful and quiet, but it is incredibly dangerous. I mean, just the smallest rock in the wrong direction at the wrong time can pierce it, and then just boom, everything's gone. The person's gone, their spacesuit is ripped, and they have to like hurry, and everything changes. But those images and videos can be so thrilling to watch because it's the combination of serenity and disaster all in one. I think a beautiful quote, it was in Interstellar, that Matthew McConaughey says, for the longest time we looked up into the sky and wondered our place in the stars, and now we just look at the ground and wonder when we'll end up in the dirt. And it's so sad to realize that, of course, we're excited and there's a community that's all excited about space travel and going up there, but a majority of the world is still just focused on just what's going to happen down here. Like, when am I going to die? What am I going to accomplish?
Yeah.
Like, what is my worth? But they look at the ground and get weighed down with all this depression and like anxiety over these thoughts, when instead you could look up to the stars and have a more positive outlook on where will you end up, like what's going to happen to you. And I mean, that's what all started stargazing for me, is looking up at the stars with my family and just wondering like what's going to happen in my future, like where am I going. And I'm so excited for this.
So the challenge for this episode and for everyone listening going forward, and I want to, of course, give myself this challenge too, is that when we are tempted to just look around at everything that's going on and all the anxiety and all the unknown and all the unprecedented times, to look up and wonder what else is out there, because that is it's such a good way of pulling yourself up out of the dirt and finding a reason to move forward.
Wherever you are, find a moment to look up at the sky and just see one star. Or if you can't realize it's a planet, then look at that planet. But at least just take a moment to realize that there's so much vastness out there of unexplored territory and terrain. There's so much magic out there, and you can always power through. So I second that challenge. I would love to throw a little shout out to one of my best friends, Tyler Buckingham at Buckingham Fitness. He is a personal trainer. He can give you nutritional help, workout programs, even like personalized sessions with him at his gym in Atlanta, Georgia. He also does over Zoom conferences where you can talk to him and he can give you advice on anything. He also has a lot of workout programs on his website. If I'm not mistaken, that's buckinghamfit.com. Reach out to him. He's a great guy. Tyler Buckingham, buckinghamfit.com. He truly cares about your experience and how to make yourself a better person, as well as build some muscle mass.
Tyler is a wonderful person. I totally second that. Yeah. And if you want to follow Mickey, because he's always doing cool stuff, being on shows on Facebook Watch and doing live theater and other cool film projects and all kinds of cool stuff, follow him at...
You can find me on Instagram at Mickamo Jr. That's MICKAMOJR. Or you can look me up on IMDb. That's Mickey Cole Jr. Mickey like the mouse, to see everything I've been in, and maybe even find me on your local Facebook page. You can just look up a TV show called Queen America on Facebook and see me there.
Mickey, thank you so much for being on the show. This is one of my absolute favorite topics, just space in general, and I've learned so much from you. And we've had so much fun, even with all the technical issues.
We've had a lot of fun trying to make this episode happen.
With all of the power outages and internet connection and trying to do this over Zoom from across the country, but we made it happen. And guys, everyone, thank you so much for coming back for another episode. And Mickey, I look forward to having you on the show again. I hope that will happen very soon.
You can have me anytime you want.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Coffee Friends today. It's been a great time, guys. I'm your host, Marsha Faith Harper, and